Today's story, we'll be exploring a man who has his life absolutely turned upside down by his sister-in-law, who he welcomes into the house, but then she tries to turn his family against him, making him seem like the bad guy when in reality, it was all Rachel. Thanks to my sister-in-law, the people around me have to come to believe that I'm not a good person. My children doubt me and don't respect me the way they used to. For them, their father's gone from being a hero to someone who's the villain in their favorite aunt's story. My sister-in-law, Rachel, settled her divorce 2 months ago, and out of nowhere she called my wife and asked for our permission to move in with us. I didn't think twice before letting her stay, and I've been regretting it since. When Rachel approached us with a horde of her problems and 6 children in tow, I felt like a cruel man at the mere idea of turning her away at the doorstep. I decided to believe her when she'd said that she was going to stay over for a short period of time, and would keep looking for a better place to move into. Mia, being an empath and Rachel's only living family member, wanted to support her sister emotionally. So the two of us decided to give the 2-bedroom on the first floor to Rachel and her 6 children. The move went well, and at first nothing happened. The kids got along fine, and Rachel started smiling more often. Everything came crashing down for me when I calculated our expenses. They'd escalated 3-fold from our usual figures, and it had just been 15 days. After having discussed it all with Mia, we decided to request Rachel to pitch in, if she was to stay longer. I'm completely honest when I say that I had not intended to rip Rachel off her settlement money when we brought up the topic at the local cafe in a form of a formal rental agreement. We didn't want to discuss such matters in front of 8 children, so we opted to talk outside, which I believe was a mistake on our part. Instead of understanding the problem we were facing, Rachel created quite a scene in front of the townsfolk and went as far as to rip the agreement into shreds. No one knows what exactly happened, but the incident did paint me and my wife as a heartless couple in the town. After her harsh words, I was adamant about leaving Rachel, but as the expenses kept increasing, Mia decided that it was better if we confronted her sister once more. I haven't talked to Rachel yet, no. Instead, I'm here to share my problem and ask for the best possible way to talk to my sister-in-law and just make her acknowledge the importance of her financial help with household expenses. I don't know what I'm hoping, but I'm hoping nonetheless. I'm sure many of you will be able to guide me and my wife in dealing with our dilemma. Update number 1. Hey everyone. I read your comments on the details of my issues, and I'm glad to see countless comments and some impressive pieces of advice. As one of you suggested, Mia and we're going to talk to Rachel again tonight, but now I believe it's important that I update you on the most recent change of events. Well, turns out, Rachel has not forgotten our talk in the cafe 5 days ago. You see, she's been scheming behind our backs, and if not for one of my oldest friends and neighbors, Tommy, I would not have known the extent of her actual plotting. Tommy was passing by me and by my house when I was washing my car with my oldest, Sean. I greeted him and was surprised to see the loathing on his face. I begged him, tell me what his facial expression meant. That's when he blurted out the truth, and guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, this one shocked me to the core. Tommy accused me of being a selfish jerk. He told me that he was disappointed in me, and he'd never thought that I would turn out to be someone who ripped off those who needed help. Well, at first, I was confused and demanded an explanation. He told me that demanding money from Rachel at the cafe and causing her distress apparently was not enough for me now that I've threatened to kick Rachel out. I was honestly baffled at the absurd statements, but when Tommy further clarified, I understood. He found Rachel crying on the pavement outside my house one day, and upon his insistence she told him how I was demanding rent for when she had no means of income, nor a place to stay and 6 months to feed, and this story was already circulating over the town. I'm not the kind of man who talks behind one's back. I'm more of a confrontational type, but it was a sensitive matter, so I decided to talk to Mia first. I was surprised when she told me that I was lucky to run into one neighbor taking Rachel's side because she'd been hearing enough from the neighborhood's women. Together, we decided to confront Rachel about it. Of course, it did not go the way we wanted to. When the kids were out, Mia brought up the discussion and Rachel started using abusive language with my wife. Well, I became furious at this point and told her to leave if she didn't want to help, because I did not allow anybody to insult my wife, and especially not people who bit the hand that feeds them. At this point, Mia starts crying, and Rachel told me that I was a pathetic man with his eyes on her settlement money. She blamed the two of us for her current predicament and accused us of coveting her money. She wasn't happy with our hospitality, and our rudeness was the reason she didn't want to pitch in. Then she walked away, leaving Mia and me absolutely speechless. So, this is where we stand now. No one in our neighborhood is willing to take our side and make Rachel realize the error of her ways. Rachel isn't happy with what we're providing her and is blaming us for her rising anxiety. Keeping these turn of events in view, I request the best plausible solution to handle the problem. Once again, I'm grateful for your support and heartfelt advice. I'm looking forward to more of it. Update number 2. Hey everyone. I showed Mia the update and the comments especially. She also is thankful to all of you and appreciates each and every piece of advice. There's one piece of advice that caught her attention, and together the two of them decide to act on it. We looked around the town for any part-time job and asked the people who were still on our side to find Rachel a job or even an apartment best suited for her needs. Rachel, of course, was furious when she learned what we were up to. She cried in front of the children and accused us of wanting to kick her out of the home. Mia and I stayed quiet, but only till Sean took his aunt's side. He told me that I turned into a pitiful man who desired money above everything else. At his words, rage blinded me for a moment, and I ended up slapping him hard. Now, my son is not talking to me, and Rachel is tending to be the non-existent bruise on his cheek. Well, my anger had not subsided when I learned that Rachel has turned down good offers on the apartments because she wants to stay with the children. The night before yesterday, Mia cried and told me how she'd overheard her sister bad-mouthing us in front of her kids and on our own. She's gone as far as to tell all the children that for us, money is far more important than the relationship, and we're trying to kick her out. Of course, Rachel shared her anguish with a bucket load of tears. When she was done, she showered the kids with gifts that she bought from the thrift store as to remind them that she was the only one who truly cared about them. After learning about her recent tactics, I felt unsettled. I confronted her right before breakfast and told her to stop bringing kids into our matters, and once again she blamed us for that as well. She reminded us that it was because of us that she's been forced to take such extreme measures. She claims that she had no one on her side, and no one was willing to understand her problem, so she was looking for support from kids. Last night's dinner incident is what's brought me here just one more time with another update. During the dinner, when Mia asked Rachel if she found a job, it was Sean who told my wife that Rachel did not need a job because she was more than his mother would ever be. Mia was so shocked that she could not even utter a single word throughout the dinner and just softly sniffled beside me. When the kids left after their meal, I demanded that Rachel stays behind. It'd been because of her that my son had degraded his mother in front of everyone. Rachel wore this proud smile on her face and remarked that, well, we would have better understood our children if we'd stopped paying attention to our money and lack of job. Later, I asked Sean to accompany me to the store. On our way, I told Sean that we appreciate all the love and care Rachel was giving to them, but what we were doing was best to her and her children in the coming time. Sean accused me of taking advantage of a divorcee and making her work when she did not want to. He even accused me of giving her stress and being the reason she felt like she did not belong. Such words coming out of a 14-year-old's mouth proved to be quite shocking to me. Early in the morning today, I signaled Rachel out and demanded to know what she planned on doing by involving the kids and filling their heads with poison. In response, she just laughed at me and, of course, told me that things would have been better had I not desired her settlement money. I reminded her that according to the law, she was eligible for paying at least 25% of the rent. With a wink, she told me that nobody was going to get hurt if I was to look away for a little bit. Mia tells me that her sister is hoarding the money, but I have no idea for what. Mia has tried asking her many times, but Rachel never told her a thing, and never will, she says. So this is where I stand now. I have no idea how to make the woman realize her mistakes and get her out of the house as early as possible, if I'm to keep my children from going astray. Update number 3. Hey guys, it appears that many of you have a ton of questions here. Rest assured, I try my best to answer each one of everyone. I did ask Mia if it would be alright for us to dig around the reasons behind Rachel's divorce, but my wife declined. She said that she did not want us to lose sight of morals just because of one woman. In a way, she was right, but I still didn't stop myself. I've requested a couple of friends to find out everything about Rachel at the earliest at their convenience. As per one of the pieces of advice Mia and I read in the comment section of the previous post, well, I requested Mia to take some days off and hang around the children. What she's told me clearly shows that the situation with the kids is getting out of hand. Mia's noticed that Rachel tries to spend as much of her time with the kids as possible. She went as far as to pick up Sean from school when he called in sick. Together, the aunt and nephew hung around the house watching movies and playing some video games. She's becoming my children's best friend, and her children are already on her side regardless of the way she ignores their basic needs. I guess playing a poor and helpless aunt over a hardworking mother can win a lot of hearts, huh? Whenever Rachel finds any of the kids around them, she fools around but shares her experiences as well. For my children and her own, she's the strongest woman in the world. The children love hanging out with Rachel, who has a new idea for entertainment up her sleeve every night. In most of the role plays, she's the old and battered mother, or a fairy the children have to rescue. No matter how I look at it, she's manipulating them. She's painting an image of a helpless woman who's relying on the children for her well-being. I'm amazed at the way her nasty brain works, but here's the little that I can do at the moment. Recently, I've noticed that Sean has stopped talking to us altogether. Whenever I try to strike up a conversation, he makes a face as if he wants to be anywhere else but in my company. He also started to mention how Aunt Rachel is the only one who truly gets him, and prefers to spend his free time in her company and with her eldest son. Okay, I don't know what Rachel is aiming to get by turning my children against us when she already has a plate full of her own. Her youngest 3 are spoiled to the core, and the older 3 aren't much better either, but they don't leave their mother's side. Mia and I worry about our children, and at the same time, we cannot kick out Rachel, because asking her to leave would put a bad impression on the tender hearts of my children. Whenever we try to talk to her, she uses the children literally as a shield, and I leave her alone. So this is where we stand now. You guys have been so helpful. Rachel has the kids on her side and the neighbors. She shows no sign of moving out, and it's clear that she's making absolutely 0% effort to earn a job or even find an apartment for herself. I've already started to rely on my savings, and with the way things stand, they'd be gone before I know it. Update number 4. The huge fight. Hey guys, well, I'm back with another update. I've come to you after a huge fight that broke out in our house early this morning. I've just stopped consoling Mia and logged in to share the incident and ask for your humble opinions. Once again, I found myself following the advice of the only people who trust me, you guys. No, I'm not blaming any of you for the things going wrong because, if I, as a member of the household, could not predict it, then how could any of you foresee the outcome of your advice? I seriously appreciate the comments. At the breakfast table, Mia and I ignored the children and Rachel. As they joked around like usual, we started discussing our monthly budget. We discussed how we were in debt now that we had so many mouths to feed and no one to help us. That certainly got the children's attention, and they stopped focusing on Rachel for a second, much to her annoyance. Sean pointed out how Aunt Rachel could find work and pitch in with the expenses, and Eve could also work a part-time job, because that's what families do, right? He offered his own help as well, but he knows that he's underage. No sooner than the words had left his mouth, Rachel turned on him. I'm talking about straight up turned on him. She lost her temper and told my son that she was not happy to be there as well. She told us that she's always wanting to work, but nobody's going to hire her. Taking my chance, I pointed out how Sean could help her with recognizing her skill set, and they'll find what she's good at. Rachel did not take my advice well either. She told us that she did not need to work because she was already doing her best by looking after the kids and the house while we worked. She mentioned how she envisioned a big happy family when she'd moved in, and it was the company that kept her from falling apart. And now that their very family wants her gone as well because of money. Eve burst out crying and called me selfish. She accused me of being like her own father, who blamed her mother for everything. Well, that's when Sean switched sides again and called me heartless right to my face. He told me that he was ashamed to have greedy parents like me and Mia. Before he could say anything more, Mia left the breakfast table and I had no choice but to follow her. Sean has hurt us deeply, and for as long as I'd live, I don't think I'd ever be able to forget the hatred and disappointment in my son's eyes for me and his mother. Rachel's fed the children lies about her horrible life and abusive ex. She's won them over with fabricated truth. As if that wasn't all, though. Another blow came to me in the form of Rachel's ex-husband, Spencer. After Mia had stopped me from digging into Rachel's past life, I'd respected her wishes. But when Spencer showed up at my workplace, I could not help but ask him questions. That's when he told me that Rachel's a Scrooge, and there's nothing that matters to her more than her bank balance. He told me that she's been the reason he's lost 3 jobs and was in deep debt, because Rachel wanted to save more and more money to fulfill her dreams of touring the world. I was surprised when I heard that, but Spencer assured me that it was an excuse to save more money. Before Spencer left, he told me to keep an eye on Rachel because given the way she was, she'd probably be looking for another rich husband, and it's also possible that she'd leave her kids with us because we have enough solace and means to provide them shelter and a quality education. When I got back home, I found Mia crying. Upon my insistence, she told me that Rachel stole her jewelry and refused to return it. Wow! Fuming, I walked over to Rachel's room and demanded that she returns what she's taken from my wife. With a mean smile on her face, Rachel told me that it was the price she's received from Mia for looking after her for 3 years, following their mother's death. Then she offered me a deal. It was either I let her stay rent-free for the next 3 years, or let her go with Mia's jewelry. I believe that the time's come to reach a decision. I'm not sure how countless lives would be overturned, but I need to put a stop to Rachel's selfishness. I've thought of a game plan, but I'd still appreciate any advice as well, because it's possible that yours would be better than mine. Well, I'll update you soon. Wish me luck. Update number 5. I took Mia out on a date and the two of us spent the whole weekend away, leaving Rachel to look after the kids. Sean called us a gazillion times, but we told him to take his problems to Rachel because she understands him better than we'd ever be able to. That shut him up for half the day. Taking advantage of the time away from the kids and the chaotic lifestyle, we discussed various strategies to deal with the crisis. That's when I shared my idea, which was shot down by my wife instantly, as it roughly involved reporting Rachel to the police station for theft. Instead, Mia opted for the advice left by one of you amazing people. We decided to stop spending on rations or our children's demand for new toys and trips. It was hard, very hard, than simply saying it because we were robbing the children of their rights, but we didn't see any other way to make them realize the poison Rachel's been filling their innocent little hearts and minds with. Of course, Mia kept Tia close because she was too young to be able to even understand the extent of the matter. But it was Sean who suffered the most. You see, Rachel showed her true color to Sean at once. She began snapping at him whenever he asked for a pizza or a trip to the amusement park and other places. Eve showed her annoyance by screaming and smashing things whenever Rachel failed to provide her with the favorite meal or refused to pay the online orders. This made me and Mia realize that Rachel loved hoarding up money with no intention of spending it. With all this settlement money she's received from her ex-husband, she has shown no interest in starting her own business or even making an effort to secure her children's life. She's a monsieur who money matters more than the relations in her life and her own children. Slowly, Rachel started becoming frustrated. She demanded that we get children the things that they wanted, and I handed her the bills every time she made the request. Whenever she demands something expensive, my wife and I started pointing out how she was the one with all the money, and she has jewelry now. That certainly did get the children's attention. Within days, when Rachel realized what we were trying to do, she stopped arguing with the children and stepped out of the house to find means to provide for her children's absurd desires. Just last night, I overheard Eve arguing with Rachel. She blamed her for not making it work with her husband, and now she was out at destroying the trust of the only family she has left, her sister. I could hear how hurt Eve was, but there was little that she could do to talk sense into her mother. Early in the morning, I woke up to the sound of soft knocking at the door. It was Kai, Rachel's oldest child, with Rachel's jewelry box in his hand. Without saying a word, he returned it to me and returned to his room. And the boys retreating back, I sensed the change, and it's made me renewed with, fervor all over again. If Rachel wants to play games, then so be it. Well, I can play worse games. This is the end, I guess. I know that I would not have come this far without your support. This platform is the best thing that's happened to me, and it was the reason Mia and I have learned to survive such a dilemma. Everything we've tried hasn't worked, but withdrawing our hand from spending on the children has brought out Rachel's true colors, and it's only a matter of time when she'd lose the entire confidence and trust of her children. I would not say that I'm proud of what I did, but after everything, this was the only way to make the children realize who the bad guy was. Mia and I have taken it upon ourselves to remind the children how important it is to spend on others, especially your loved ones. Through Rachel's struggles and lifestyles, I try to tell the children, well, you can't live a happy life, nor let anyone else live it. I can see that the gradual change in Rachel is happening. It isn't a positive change, per se, but it's something that'll probably make her leave our house and shift elsewhere. After trying various strategies and reading through your comments, I've realized that the best way to deal with, well, a miser is to keep quiet and prove through your actions that your particular trait is having a negative effect on others' lifestyle. For now, I believe I found a way to deal with my sister-in-law, and it's all thankful to you people. All of us avoid her as much as possible and force her hand to buy some rations. If she's not going to pay the rent, then it's only right if she pays for her own groceries demanded by her own children. After all, a mother can't turn her children's request down, now can they? I believe Rachel herself is going to be a lesson for all the children around her. Whatever happens, I'd be sure to share it with all of you. We're forever in debt to you remarkable people. Thank you. Alright guys, so this story was such a wild ride. First of all, OP had a lot to deal with. I found quite a few comments where they were basically just ripping apart Rachel. Comment 1 says, "Wow, this story is so intense. I can't believe Rachel would stoop so low to turn the kids against their own father. That's unacceptable." Comment 2, "I'm sorry, this is a sad situation. I feel for the man and his wife who were just trying to help their family member in need. But now they're paying the price?" And comment 3, "I cannot believe Rachel's audacity to not only refuse to pay rent, but also badmouth her host to the entire town. She's lucky they did not kick her out on the spot." Guys, it just goes on and on about comments like this. I would like to hear from you guys though. What exactly you would do if you were in OP's unique position? Let's drop it down and talk about it in the comment section. Guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Mr. Reddito. I post every single day, narrate stories, and animate them. If that sounds like something you're into, consider subscribing. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic day.